How does our family and upbringing affect our spiritual path? A talk with Unmani.
This theme of how our family life, our upbringing, our childhood affects the spiritual path. I would say that it very much affects it in one way, but of course it is a paradox. Like many aspects of this path, this pathless path, which is of course another paradox. On one hand, we can say that nothing affects our knowing of who we are, because who we are is aware of everything that is happening without exception. It is simply aware, it is unaffected by anything that might happen in our human lives. It doesn't, you could say even it doesn't care whether there are ups or downs or traumas or joy. It is simply aware, right? It doesn't have preferences or opinions. It doesn't have feelings. It is a blank background that simply knows it all. And that is who you are, always, without exception. There's nothing that can ever disturb that or affect that in any way. And then the other side of the paradox is that we live these human lives. We are life itself, that awareness itself, playing as these humans. And within the play of being human, we experience it fully, right? Whatever our human experience is, it is as real as anything is real. And many things affect us. Many things have a big impact on our body, our mind, and have a big impact on how we are able to perceive things and process things. Our level of, let's say, maturity on the spiritual path. There's no right or wrong there. It's just that, each unique appearing individual has their own unique journey. And that journey begins, well, who knows when it begins, perhaps even before we're born. But in this life, at least, it begins with the birth, and then everything that happens after that, our family life, the challenges that we might have been through, the joy, the pain, the fear, and everything that we have to face in our lives. And then alongside that, all the mechanisms that we take on, or we discover also, that might help us to navigate in our lives, or to survive the various situations that we're in, especially when we're very small, we're young children. We are kind of thrown into this strange world, right, where we don't really understand what's going on here. There's no kind of guidebook to explain how it all works, or what it all means, or what the point of it all is. And we are often accompanied by adults who also have no idea what's really going on here, and don't necessarily have the tools to support us in our journey, because they didn't have the tools to support them. And so it's like the blind leading the blind in a way. And we're all innocent, there's no right or wrong. Again, we might have the tendency to blame our parents or caregivers for whatever hardships we might have had to deal with at a young age. And yes, sometimes maybe our family members made so-called mistakes because they simply didn't know how else to be, or they were facing their own challenges in their lives. They had their own traumas to deal with, and of course they brought that into the way they parented, or we had to face loss or big changes in our lives. And then we found ways as young children to deal with that, to process that, to understand, to make it all make sense somehow. And the way that we did that, or the many ways, the strategies, to our adult mind, especially to the mind, as we become more mature on the spiritual path, we can look at some of those childhood strategies, and we can see that they're not particularly logical. They don't always make sense, and we can see from our adult mind that they're not necessarily true, but they still might very much play out in our adult lives because they were formed at a young age as a natural part of our personality as it developed, and a lot of that involves these stories of me, right? These identities. Who am I? I'm this kind of person, right? I'm that kind of person because of whatever circumstances I had to face as a child. So, for example, I might believe that there's something wrong with me, right? This is a very common one that many of us have. And that might be an explanation that we carry because of perhaps something that someone said, or some things that we were told at a young age that we assumed must mean that there's something wrong with me, or something happened, and then we jumped to that conclusion that made it all make sense. And of course we can give many examples of these kinds of things, and I'm sure you know what I mean, and you have a sense of those kinds of stories for yourself, those kinds of me stories that you have carried. And when we believe in those me stories, and we carry those kind of little children, they are kind of little children because they are little me's who still are believed in, and they still affect our adult life now, even though we are now no longer those small children. They still are part of us because we haven't fully brought our full attention to them and awareness, and integrated those aspects of ourselves into our reality as adults. And so they can have still a lot of power, and they run our lives often, and mean that we experience life in a limited way. For example, if we believe that there's something wrong with me, then every adult interaction gets filtered through that, and we experience life in a very small and limited way, always collapsing into a small me every time something triggers that, which is heartbreaking, really, isn't it? I mean, when our true nature is life itself, right? Love itself, joy itself, it's freedom itself, it's wholeness, right? And there we are playing as if there's something wrong with me. I'm limited and I'm small in this little box, and so of course our experience of life will be affected by these stories that we still carry with us. So it's not that, whatever happened to you as a child is necessarily affecting you. It's more how you understood that, or the stories that you took on, that you perhaps still take on in your life, still have playing out in your life. And that, in the way I see it, that becomes a big part of the spiritual path. And it's not that you need to deal with every one of these stories and then you will be free. It's more that you are free already. You are life itself already. And from there, that you are can embrace these small me's. That's how I see it. So, that one that you are loves unconditionally. It's like the ultimate parent for all these little children. And when you identify with that, rather than these small me's, then you can see that all these little children that might still be running around in you as an adult, that they arise out of innocence. They're not wrong or bad. They are natural. They're a natural part of you and how you processed whatever happened to you. And so you come with compassion and love for these small me's. You bring more attention to them. You understand them more. You feel into them, not only in the concept, in the story of them, but also in the body. You feel into the sensations, the emotions that go along with them. You give time and space and energy to these small me's so that they can be embraced and integrated into your life. And this means that more and more your lived experience of the spiritual path, which is life basically, right? The spiritual path is life. And that's how I see it anyway, that, the more we can live freely as our true nature in form, the more this is living spirituality. It's not about arriving at a certain goal where it's all cleaned up and, you are then crowned with enlightenment. No, it's an ongoing, never-ending unraveling of these small me's, because they will inevitably keep coming up because you are challenged by different things in your adult life. Different people or situations will touch you in different ways. And just when you think that you've dealt with that particular me story, it might again be touched. And there it is, right there for you to see and feel again. And so each time one of these little me's comes up, it's an opportunity to embrace it again, to breathe into it, to feel it, to know that, yeah, it's part of who I am. In my experience, all these little me's in me, in Unmani, they're all here and they're so welcome to be here forever. I'm not trying to get rid of them or fix them or clean them up. They are so welcome to be here, but I meet them with curiosity and with love. With the curiosity is when there's something that perhaps I can feel is not so clear, or is behaving in a way that is a bit vague and a bit unconscious. Then I look at it with curiosity, not trying to force anything or to fix anything, and not trying to get anywhere, but just with like a kind of, that's interesting. Let's have a look at that, feel into that a little bit more. Just simply because I love truth and freedom, So then when I feel that there's something limiting in some way, my curiosity comes in, oh, that's really curious. Why am I holding on like this or pretending to be small when I know that I'm not that, And just by shedding some light on some of these me stories, they come to rest more and more, because it's like, who I am is like this ultimate parent that is bringing some attention and care and love to these little children that are dying for attention. They're asking for it, and so this is the ongoing spiritual path, the pathless path. It's going nowhere, essentially. It's only ever about here now. And here now we meet ourselves in whatever is here. And this is love, right? And it's so unique. However it is for you is exactly as it should be, as it must be. No one else can tell you how it should be in your unique journey as this unique appearing human aspect of life itself. So this is how love and life loves itself as this human.